Hey everyone, this is something I couldn't even imagine doing last week at this time because everything hurt so bad, but I think I'm making some progress as far as healing goes. Obviously, that's, not a ton, but it means a lot to me considering I couldn't even, wow, move him at all for about a whole week, probably a week and a couple days. But I'm healing up, so hope to see you guys soon.
On October 22nd, 2016, Josiah O'Brien suffered one of the most traumatic powerlifting injuries ever caught on tape. After successfully completing his second of 3 squat attempts at 638 pounds, Josiah jumped to 655, a feat only 5 pounds more than his current personal best at the time. This is when disaster struck.
Leading up to the meet, I had a really good training cycle. Everything was going as planned. I didn't have any tweaks, no pec tweaks, nothing really with the quad, a little bit of hip flexor pain, but nothing I couldn't handle. And warming up for the squat in the warm-up room, I felt great. I thought for sure that day I'd be able to hit a small PR, not a big one, just a 5-pound one, which is what I went for on my last attempt at 655. But obviously that didn't go as planned. When I took it off the rack, I honestly felt like I was going to smoke this. Like, I got this. This feels light. And I set up, everything felt great. And as I went down, I heard and felt my legs snap. And I think shock set in just for a few seconds of what just happened. And once I realized what had happened, then emotions kicked in, so. Just hearing the initial snap of the squat, I thought I broke something. I thought I broke my leg, and I knew the right one was messed up for sure, because that's the first one I felt go, which happened to be my quad tendon. But as I laid there for about 5 or 6 seconds and I kind of pushed myself up in the back, I realized I couldn't move my legs, and they were pinned back underneath me. And luckily there was a chiropractor in the audience, along with a couple of registered nurses, and they came over and pulled my legs out from underneath me and moved them out straight. And then that's when the pain really set in, and I knew I was messed up pretty bad, so, because I couldn't move my legs at all.
The day I met Josiah for the first time in person and we did our initial examination, I was really able to see just how bad this injury was. In the past couple years working at Boost Physical Therapy, I've been able to work with hundreds of athletes who have torn their ACL. And while that injury alone is really bad and it takes an athlete out for months on end, that's just one ligament. Josiah tore almost every supporting ligament in both knees. So from the start, it was a very, very serious injury from a physical standpoint and from a rehabilitative standpoint.
I hadn't seen anyone that has had that extensive of damage on both sides. I mean, he had, on his right knee, he had ACL, PCL, MCL, as well as his quad tendon was ruptured. On the left side, it was ACL, MCL, PCL, and his patellar tendon was ruptured. And his patellar tendon on the left side was so tendinotic from all of his training and the other things that there was no real ligament to repair. So we ended up having to do a reconstruction. And so, having someone that has not only multi-ligamentous instability, but also both of their extensor mechanisms are destroyed, it made for a much more complicated reconstruction process, and there was a lot of discussion. One of my partners actually was in on surgery so we could simultaneously operate on both sides to try and keep his operative time, his tourniquet time down with all the things we had to do.
The muscle damage was so severe that he actually landed himself in the hospital for a couple days with rhabdomyolysis. Basically, his kidneys were shutting down because the damage to his muscles was so severe.
He had the most extensive damage that I've taken care of in practice so far. Practice, or even I did 2 sports fellowships, and even in my fellowships and residency training, this was the most extensive that I've ever taken care of at one time. Any of those injuries individually, or multi-ligamentous injury, which is typically 2 ligaments, is a bad injury. To have 3 ligaments and your extensor mechanism out bilaterally, I haven't seen an injury that extensive until him.
3 months I couldn't bend my legs. I was in leg braces and my surgeon wouldn't let me unlock them. He wouldn't let me take them off. So he wanted to make sure everything was healed because I had all grafts with all the tendons that went as well. And so that was tough for me. And I couldn't move for 2 weeks after surgery. I was in a wheelchair. I was stuck in the spare bedroom. I couldn't go in, I couldn't go out. I remember Thanksgiving Day, I tried to come out.
There he goes, the man himself. Oh, it's kind of Derek.
And I only ate a little bit of food and I immediately felt sick and went back into the spare bedroom, just laid down again. So my holiday season last year was ruined, but leading up to that, actually after that, I went ahead and started therapy in February 17th, I remember the exact day. And I knew it was gonna be hard, and I knew it was gonna be bad and probably really painful, but nothing, I don't think, could prepare me for the amount of pain I was gonna be in with a lot of the manual work that had to be done in order to get my legs moving again.
So the first 3 to 4 months of rehab for most people who have a ligament injury, that's the time where they're progressively gaining strength, getting back to a normal life. Not Josiah. It was pretty apparent that yes, he had massive strength issues at the time. I mean, he could barely walk with 2 leg braces on each side. But his biggest issue at the time was getting the mobility back in his knees.
There were definitely times where I was on my way here and I honestly thought, like, I should just turn around. Like, this is gonna suck. And it did. But having a wife and having a baby and operating my own business, I was like, I have to do this not to get back to lifting, but I have to do this just so I can live a normal life again and be able to do the things that I should be able to do with my wife and do the things that I should be able to do with my daughter.
The extent of the damage had caused so much scarring on both of his knees that they basically froze and would not move. Simple movements like sitting down and standing up from a chair or trying to walk and step over something were nearly impossible at the start of therapy. In order to get his knees to bend again, Josiah had to go through months and months of extremely intense therapy. He would come 3 times a week. He would stay 3+ hours and go through numerous stretches, either stretching himself, taking a kettlebell and trying to sit into a deep squat to get some motion back into his knees. I had to push on Josiah's knees so hard that it would bring him to tears every single time. In the past, I've had to push some athletes really, really hard during their rehabilitation time. But by far, I have never seen an athlete had to go through and put up with as much pain as Josiah could handle. We also did a number of other treatments like dry needling and cupping to try to help remove the scar tissue and improve the tissue quality around the knees because the extent of damage was just so bad.
I think it was important for me to find Dr. Horschig to work with me because he was an Olympic weightlifter himself and he knew what it was like to push his body to a different level that most people wouldn't. And as I shopped around for physical therapists, I found out a lot of PTs I came across had no idea what it was really like to strength train. They knew the body, they knew mechanics and whatnot, but they didn't have a personal relationship of what it felt like to go past their comfort zone and to go past that barrier.
So finally, after months and months of aggressive treatment to get some mobility back into his knees, we finally started to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Josiah was able to start walking normal again. We were able to start doing some very light resistance work, things very simple, wall sits, bridges, straight leg raises, some resistant band work. At this time, his strength was so poor that just doing a simple wall sit would cause almost his entire body to shake.
Being able to crawl around the floor and more than anything, just help my wife. I felt worthless there for several months, and my wife was working very hard to do everything for her daughter, changing her diapers, taking out trash, making dinner, doing dishes, putting her to bed. She did everything. I had to do nothing. I know some guys would probably love that, but as I'm sitting there in leg braces and I see her really stressed out and exhausted, it was frustrating. I was like, I wish I could just do something, but you can't. But now that I'm more functional and I can help, I enjoy it. I enjoy changing a diaper, believe it or not. Or enjoy taking out the trash and doing things that I used to take for granted and hate.
Eventually, we got to moving more and more weight. We got on the leg press, and eventually we got to start rebuilding his squat on 2 and on 1 leg. I think the first time I told Josiah, hey, I want you to try a single leg squat, he looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language.
Well, I hardly ever did a single leg squat when I was healthy, so doing one injured, I didn't really see the point, to be honest. I was like, why would I need to do this? I'm not going to be on one leg ever, doing a single leg squat in everyday life. I don't think this is important, but trying to do it, obviously it was tough, but I see now the importance of it, of training the smaller muscles around the area of the knee. A strong hamstring makes a stronger knee as well. And those are just things that I avoided before and didn't do. One, I don't like to do them, but I think if I would have paid attention to smaller details like that, I potentially wouldn't have gotten hurt so quickly, or maybe if at all.
It doesn't matter who you are, what type of injury you've had, every single person should be capable of performing a good squat on 2 legs and on 1 leg. So that was a huge part of our rehab program.
I had people reaching out to me that I didn't even know. I had no idea who they were. Some of them I hadn't even heard of. But just to get a message and say, hey, I heard what happened. I just want to let you know I'm pulling for you. I believe you can get through this. And you're a strong guy. And it really helped on days that I was really down. And you would just get a text message, or my inbox message on Facebook would light up from somebody. And it would be an individual reaching out to me, letting me know that they were rooting me on and pulling for me, and believed I could come back and still compete if I wanted to. And for a long period of time, I didn't think that was possible until I think it was 4 or 5 months in the rehab. I started to realize, hey, I can still do this. So I may not be as good as I was before, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not being as good or as I was before, but I'm not okay with giving my best effort and trying to get there. I don't want to leave a stone unturned at all and look back and go, maybe if I would have did this, maybe if I would have took this more serious, I should have did this. I'm 28 and I only got so long to be able to do this, so I want to take advantage of it as much now as I can, and whatever happens, happens.
On June 29th, 8 months after the original injury, we finally got to the point that we put a barbell on Josiah's back. That was a really good day for us.
Yesterday, I got under the barbell for the first time, and since October 22nd, and I had surgery November 15th. I think it was a lot of highs and lows. as far as emotions go. Just dealing with this whole process and accepting the fact that I'm probably never going to be as competitive as I was before, in the squat at least, and I'll never compete in the squat again, actually, and that's okay. I'm content with that. But as far as how the bar actually felt, it felt good. The weight felt fine. My knees felt pretty stable. They felt tight, which is just good and bad. I have a stable knee, but I also have some stiffness I'm dealing with. The stiffness will come and go depending on the day, but for the most part, I'm always improving, and that's the main thing. This whole process has been really painful. The first 4 months physically, I would be crying because of the manual therapy that my physical therapist, Aaron, had to do with my legs by pushing on them and trying to get my tendons and soft tissue to move like it's supposed to. It's just the sacrifice that you have to make to be in some intense pain for a period of time in order to get better, but it's been worth it. If you would have told me 2 months ago, or maybe even a month ago, that I would be squatting the bar again for sets of 10 like I did yesterday, I wouldn't think it'd be possible. But I'm just gonna keep trying to move forward one step at a time and improve every day. Thanks, guys.
You know, we started off with just the bar, and then we moved to 10s on each side, and then we moved to 25 pounds on each side. You'd be surprised. I mean, a guy that used to squat in the mid 600 pounds, I mean, he was having so much difficulty endurance and strength-wise with 95 pounds on his back. But it just shows how damaging this injury really was to him. But you know, he showed up day after day, and he put in the work, and he got stronger.
Not a day goes by that I don't think about getting crushed under 655 pounds. I can't have my last squat ever in a meet be like that. I feel like I'd be accepting defeat. Like it would almost be a cowardly act of me to walk away from that and say I quit, I give up.
You know, as time went on and he got stronger and stronger, we sat down and we talked, and we agreed, you know, he needed to come back and try one more powerlifting meet. I didn't want the last, you know, meet he had done, the video in the back of his mind replaying it over and over of himself getting stuck under and pinned under 655 pounds. You know, I didn't care if he went out there and squatted the bar. I wanted him to get out there and perform a passing squat with the barbell to prove to himself that he could do it again, and that this injury basically didn't categorize him and didn't shape him for the rest of his life.
Everything's going really well. It's been pretty fun. I haven't told too many people this, but and most people won't find out till after it's over, but I am registered for a full powerlifting meet on August 12th. And what I'm doing that meet for is just as important mentally and emotionally as it is for me physically. Just going out the way I did last time, not on my own terms, of getting hurt as bad as I did, is just an image in my mind. It's always going to be there, but if I can do something in regards to helping myself out, getting back under the bar in a meet and squatting 100 pounds or 130 or whatever I'm going to do, whatever Aaron tells me to do, I think it'll just kind of put some closure on some things as far as where I am at with the squat. I may not ever squat again after this meet, and that's fine. I don't actually plan on it, and I've said that before in my previous video. But anyway, things are going along pretty well. I'm excited. I never thought I'd be where I'm at right now, but just time and consistency.
On August 12, 2017, only 10 months after his horrific injury, Josiah would finally make his return to the competition platform, where he successfully squatted 195 pounds.
So after some time, when we set a good baseline amount of strength with his squat, with his barbell deadlift, It was then time to start rebuilding Josiah as a complete athlete. And that means learning how to run, learning how to jump, move sideways again. You know, as a powerlifter, running is not a huge component of his training, but you'd be surprised at this point it had been so long since he had even had the ability to even jog a couple feet. He was looking forward to it. You know, he would come into training and saying, hey, I'm ready to start jogging today. I'm ready to start doing a little bit more agility work. So that was a really cool part of our transition at that time.
I think there's such a focus on outcome that we forget sometimes that sometimes the joy is the process, and to see what you can get naturally. There's such a focus on performance that there's a lot of pressure on these athletes to figure out some way to perform at the next level or to not listen to themselves. I think there's tremendous pressure on the athlete to either fight through the pain or work through it or to get to the next level, and there's so many people doing it that I can understand the pull that they feel and the tremendous pressure.
I was not a great football player. I would say I was good enough to earn a scholarship at a Division II school, but I would technically call myself, during that time, I was always more of an off-season guy. I always enjoyed the winter weight program and the conditioning and stuff like that, and the testing, the test outs. I would say most of the guys that I knew known me more for my strength in the weight room versus my football playing ability, which is fine. But coming out of football, I wasn't sure what to honestly do to kind of fill that void that I had. All of a sudden you're committed to a sport for, in my case, 4.5 years. I graduated a semester early, and all of a sudden you are just a regular student. Your last semester in school, and you don't have football anymore, and you're done with class at 1. What do I do the rest of my day? I don't have any practice. I don't have meetings. I don't have weights. And so for me, it was like, I'm gonna start training again. And I wasn't sure what I was training for, but I had some friends from back home start talking to me saying, you know, you should do a powerlifting meet again. So I dove into it, graduated, and started doing about 3 or 4 meets a year for the next 5 years straight. I plan on continuing to compete. I won't compete as often. I think I will do things much more different this time than I did before. I guess an approach that I was using before that a lot of veterans in the sport would say was, I was young and dumb, you know, push your body, 3 or 4 meets a year, just keep going, keep pushing, load heavier weights on the bar. I never took time to really focus on things that mattered. I never took care of my body. I never stretched. I never foam rolled. I never worked on mobility. My priority was to move big weights and to keep moving big weights. And so this time around, I won't compete as often. I think I have a deal with my wife worked out, 1 meet a year, and I'm fine with that. And that'll be a very well strategically planned 1 meet a year that I hopefully will stay healthy for. So I plan on doing this as long as I can until my body says no and I can't do it anymore. And hopefully that's not for quite a while.
I can say it's truly been an honor to work with Josiah. In my professional career from here on out, I doubt I'll ever work with someone who has had as bad of an injury as Josiah and has come out as strong as he did. It's truly a testament to the strength, to the desire, and to the patience that he had going through this entire process. And if anyone is going through a similar injury or is dealing with any type of injury due to barbell training, if they have even 1/10 of what Josiah had in terms of their patience and their approach to drive through and get better every single day, man, the sky's the limit because anything is possible.
Overall, I owe a lot of people a lot of thank yous. Obviously, starting off, I owe my surgeon, Dr. Christopher Shaw, a big thank you. He fixed me, and he wasn't just a good doctor as far as surgeon goes, but he actually cared about me and my process, and I still plan on keeping contact with him. Also, I'd like to thank Boost Physical Therapy and Sports Performance. First and foremost, Dr. Horschig, who made this whole thing possible for me. He was my primary doctor and the rest of the team, such as Tyler, Carissa, Dave, Kevin, Hannah, and I don't think I'm missing anybody. Diana, maybe. So I hope I'm not leaving anybody out. But all of you guys have helped me in some way, in some form. I'd also like to thank 22nd Street Barbell for the support financially for when I got hurt, especially having an 8-week-old at the time. It would have been possible to pay some of the bills that I had for her and running my own business and operation. And I'd also like to thank my coach, Jay Ashman, who contacted me probably every day to see how I was doing throughout this whole process as well. And most of all, my lovely wife, who stood by me the whole time. So thank you.
After all was said and done, Josiah required over 100 physical therapy sessions spread over 9 months. He hobbled into Boost with 2 straight leg braces, barely able to bend his knees enough to sit in a chair, and would leave with the ability to jump over a 36-inch hurdle and deadlift 640 pounds.
If you find a good therapist, which Dr. Aaron is, I think that it can keep you in the sport a lot longer and keep you healthy and keep you mostly injury-free as far as the serious injuries go. If you have a devastating injury like I had, you get a lot of time to think, because most likely you're bedridden or you're sitting on the couch or the chair, so you have all kinds of time to think. But I would say use it as an opportunity to learn from it, learn from the injury that you had, and use that to help other people from it happening to them. This injury in some ways has been good for me. It's been good for me in the aspect it's made me a better coach in my business, working with my own lifters, my own athletes, and giving my friends advice as well. I've had a few people reach out to me and start asking me questions. Hey, my hamstrings bother me. Hey, my back's been killing me. What do you think? What do you think? Should I still compete? Did you have any signs leading up to your meet that made you think that maybe you should pull out of the meet and you didn't and you got hurt? Those are the things that are almost rewarding to me in some ways. So use it as a lesson to learn, a way to learn from it, and a way to move forward, and a way to prevent it from happening to somebody else. There are 2 pains in life. There's the pain of discipline, and then there's the pain of regret. You choose which one.